Kunda Vihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunda Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivanadari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivanadari Yasodanandana Brata Janaranjana Yasodanandana Brata Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanacharya Yamuna Tira Vanacharya Jai Radha Madhava Kunda Vihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunda Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivanadari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivanadari Yasodanandana Brata Janaranjana Yasodanandana Brata Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanacharya Yamuna Tira Vanacharya Jai Radha Madhava Kunda Vihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunda Vihari Jai Om Vishnupad Paramhansa Prabhupada Asadhara Satushi Shriman His Divine Grace Shalasi Bhaktivedanta Swaraj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Gaur Premanande Haribol, glorious to the sound devotees, all glorious to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Om Agyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chaksura Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavam Scha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raganatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Pradina Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shiva Sakans Vitams Cha Hey Krishna Karna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchena Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Prishubhanu Sudha Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Pranityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, Canto 8, Chapter 22. Bali Maharaj surrenders his life. Text number 28. What's it? No, 27. Manastamba nimittanam Janmadinam samantata Sarvashreyak pratipanam Hantamuyan paraha Manastamba nimittanam Janmadinam samantata Sarva Shreyak Pratipanam Hantamuyanamat Paraha. Dhanam. Jnanam Hantata. Ladies, Sambhavinitanam Janamantata Sarvashreyak Pratitpanam Hantamuyanamat Paraha. Mana of false prestige. Stamba, because of this impudence. Nimittanam, which are the causes. Janma adinam, such as birth in a high family. Samantata, taken together. Sarvashreya, for the supreme benefit of life. Pratipanam, which are impediments. Hanta, also. Muyat, becomes bewildered. Not matparaha, my pure devotee. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Śrīmad Prabhupada. Although aristocratic birth and other such opulences are impediments to advance in a devotional service, because they are causes of false prestige and pride, these opulences never disturb a pure devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Please repeat. Although aristocratic birth and other such opulences are impediments to advance in a devotional service, because they are causes of false prestige and pride. these opulences never disturb a pure devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purport: devotees like Dhruva Maharaj, who were given unlimited material opulence, have the special mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Once Kuvera wanted to give Dhruva Maharaj a benediction, but although Dhruva Maharaj could have asked him for any amount of material opulence, he instead begged Kuvera that he might continue his devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When a devotee is fixed in his devotional service, there is no need for the Lord to deprive him of his material opulences. Supreme Personality of Godhead never takes away material opulences achieved because of devotional service, although he sometimes takes away opulences achieved by pious activities. He does this to make a devotee pryless or to put him in a better position in devotional service. If a special devotee is meant for preaching but does not give up his family life or material opulences to take to the service of the Lord surely takes away his material opulences and establishes him in devotional service. Thus the pure devotee becomes fully engaged in propagating Krishna consciousness. Translation again. Although aristocratic birth and other such opulences are impediments to advancement in devotional service, because they are causes of false pride, prestige and pride, these opulences never disturb a pure devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Śrīmate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswatunde Ve Gauravani Pacharane Nirvishesha Srinivadi Paskyadyade Satarane. The idea of devotional service is to free us from asmita. Asmita means false ego. A false ego is based on avidya, not knowing reality. We acquire a false ego and live in a make-believe reality created by the illusory energy and our interactions with it, which create rag and dvesha, the attachments and aversions that we feel towards material energy, and then finally abhiniveshita, the anxiety and the fear over the fact that this body is temporary and that we have to leave it and we don't know where we're going. So as long as it's avidya, then things such as acquiring material opulence usually aggravate our false ego, because everyone is coming to the material world for acquiring a position most favorable towards sense gratification, either in the hellish worlds or in the middle planetary systems, or even in the higher planetary systems. Everyone is interested in utilizing economic development for sense gratification. Therefore, for a devotee who's trying to get out of material consciousness, material opulence is not necessarily an impediment if one is simply utilizing one's material opulence in the service of Krishna, but not everyone is so advanced as to be able to understand how to utilize opulence in the service of Krishna, or has the inclination to do so. Therefore, Queen Kunti, after saying Vipadak Shanti Takshasvat Tatra Tatra Jagat Guru Bhavatad Darshanam Nyasyat Apanar Bhavadarshana, after explaining all the calamities that the Pandavas and her faced, such as Vishan Mahagne Purushara Darshana, that they were, Bhima was fed poison, Vishan Mahagne, they were put into a house made out of flammable material and set on fire, Purushara, darshana. They escaped into the forest, and one Rakshasa came to eat them. Hindimba. So many calamities. But Queen Kunti says, Vipadak Shantu Takshasrat Tatra Tatra Dagat Guru Bhavata Darshanam Nyasyat Apana Bhavadarshana. I wish that we can see these calamities again and again, because by seeing you, there'll mean no more seeing repeated birth and death. I wish that we can see these calamities again. Vipadak Shantu Takshasvat Tatra Tatra Dagat Guru Bhavata Darshanam Nyasyat. By seeing there'll be no more seeing repeated birth and death. So that's our real problem. Not that we don't have enough money, we don't have a big enough house, our children haven't gone to the biggest school. The real problem is that we're about to leave our bodies and we don't know where we're going. We're in this body for a very short period of time. Compared to eternity, it has absolutely no significance, unless it's utilized in Krishna's service to bring us towards eternality, and then it has some value to it. Otherwise, it's simply a waste of time. Whatever we're doing outside of Krishna consciousness has no real meaning or value. Only those things that help us become Krishna conscious have any value in reality. Therefore, Janma Aishvarya Shruta Shivira Edamanak Manak Puman Naivahat Yavadatum Va Twam Akinchana Gochara. Janma Aishvarya. So, Janma means birth. Birth means trying to take birth in a high family. Of course, there are no high families nowadays, but they consider it, countries which are economically advanced, they consider that a good birth. Which is even worse than taking birth in a family like a Brahmin or a Kshatriya, because it has no meaning whatsoever towards spiritual advancement. In fact, it's the opposite. Janma Aishvarya. And people think that the goal of life is to accumulate as much wealth as possible. What to do with the wealth, they don't know. They spend it on electronic equipment, they spend it on frivolous sports, they save it up so they can give their children an inheritance so they can do the same thing in the future. Shruta, so-called knowledge, has no meaning if it doesn't actually lead one to awareness of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, what to speak of our eternal position. Simply accumulating technological and industrial knowledge, advancement, is actually just making things more unnecessarily complicated. And usually it leads to destruction. Like modern medicine is actually destructive because it doesn't have any conception of what the actual causes of disease are. Instead, it itself causes more disease and it doesn't cure anything. Covers the symptoms. By covering symptoms, simply causes more disease and allows people to go on with their illusory life of sense gratification, thinking that that will make them happy, but it simply makes them more sick. This is not really the place to play chess, by the way. This is, if you want to come to the temple, then listen to the class, or else do that somewhere else, please. So, people are hoping to get happiness from technological and industrial advancement, but actually what they do is get complicated. And the very advancement of technology has contaminated the air, has contaminated the water, has contaminated the food, has contaminated people's minds, and is simply leading to more suffering rather than to actually advancement towards reality. It's reality that will make one happy when one at least realizes one is eternal, Because without realizing one is eternal, then one simply suffers in the material concept of life, and anxiety and fear of what the future holds. And the future holds the same thing for all living entities in the material world: birth, death, old age, and disease, none of which are very pleasant for the soul. Therefore, Krishna is not very happy when he sees that someone takes a devotional service or any kind of activity simply to increase their so-called prestigious position in society, to accumulate wealth simply for sense gratification, to acquire so-called material learning, although it may be technologically correct, but usually it's just unnecessarily complicated, the attempt to get some basic things like food and a place to sleep. What does all the technology help people? It's giving all the children an opportunity to kill things on a little game, and completely misuse their human form of life from the very beginning of life. And therefore later on, they started out in a degraded position, wasting their lives, getting trained up to waste their lives, and when they get older, they have no values of life, no understanding what the purpose of life is, and it's been conditioned in them from very early and very practically impossible to get free from. They simply build on ignorance, and therefore their whole life becomes progressively more and more ignorant rather than progressively enlightened. And yet people are proud of modern society, thinking that they're glamorous, Prabhupada said, of technological society, which is simply degrading the self in the name of so-called advancement. So, Shruta Shribir, and this idea that we're supposed to become attractive in some way or another, is also a misconception of life. That one is supposedly thinking that this body is everything, and that we have to maintain the body up to the last moment to be as attractive as possible. And then after we die, they put people in a coffin, and they decorate the coffin. And they even decorate the person to such a degree that when people look at the dead body in the coffin, they think, Mr. So-and-so looks healthier than he did when he was alive. So such a waste of time, trying to present our illusory identification as something attractive. The problem with that is that when we're more and more absorbed in the bodily concept of life, rather than trying to get out of it, then we lose our taste for chanting Hare Krishna. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Trinada pi sunichena triva sahishnuna. All false prestige is all based upon this conception that I'm this body. But if I'm not the body, what do I have to be proud of? If I accept the reality that I'm 1/10,000th the size of tip hair in size, there's nothing much to be proud of. That I've accepted an illusory body and I'm maintaining it as reality, trying to bewilder myself and try to bewilder others in the same false idea. And I'm proud that if I think that my false conception of myself is better than your false conception of yourself, it's simply a waste of time, simply furthering one's illusion. Therefore, the first thing is to understand who we actually are, and therefore nirmana moha jita sangha dosha adhyatmanitya vinivrityava kama dvanvai vimukha sukha sangar gachatnya puna avyam tat. Nirmana. So this mana, the mind, nirmana, this false idea of who we think we are, false prestige due to illusion, nirmanamo jita sangha dosha. Causes so much false association. We think we're Indian or Hindu or American or Christian or black or white or woman or man. We think we're these things. And therefore this is all bad, this is all upadhis, false designations. We have so many of them that we attach to. And therefore we don't see reality. We don't see vidya vinaya sampane brahmani gavihastani shuni chaiva swapake cha pandita samadarshanaha. We can't see as a learned person sees. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna, Arjuna didn't want to fight, and therefore Krishna says, you're giving so many reasons, you're speaking so much philosophy, but asochan avasochas tvam pragam vadama pashaste katasum zakatasum sha nanu sochati pandita. You're speaking like a learned person, but a learned person doesn't speak like you. It means you're a fool. So people may think they have so many titles and degrees from universities, but actually they're just fools. Because a learned person, he understands, he sees with an equal vision the learned and gentle Brahmin, the cow, the elephant, the dog, and the dog eater. He sees the soul within our heart as a real person accompanied by the super soul. Therefore, haivatera jita sarge yesham samye samam manak nidosham hi samam brahma tasma brahmani te siddha. Those who establish in Brahman, in sameness and equanimity, have actually conquered the conditions of birth and death. They're flawless like Brahman, thus they're already situated in Brahman. Samam pashan, samam sarveshu bhuteshu, tishtantam parameshwaram. Vinashavana vinashantam yak pashyati sapashyati. That one who can understand samam sarveshu bhuteshu tishtantam parameshwaram. That Krishna and the Super Soul are equally situated in everyone's heart. And that neither the soul nor the Super Soul within the destructible body will ever be destroyed. He can actually see. Samam pashyani sarvatra samavastitim ishvaram nihenastyatmanatmanam tatoyati param gatim. One who sees the Super Soul accompanying all bodies, doesn't degrade himself by his mind, one who sees the Super Soul accompanying all living bodies and all bodies and equal everywhere, doesn't degrade himself by his mind, and thus he approaches the supreme destination. So unless we learn how to see like that, we're just wasting our time in the human form of life. We may think we're getting ahead of life, we may think we're accomplishing something, but we're just accomplishing setting up for our next birth and death, that's all. That's all we're going to get. Where that's going to be, who knows? If we act in the mode of ignorance, which is modern society's general tendency, ignorance and passion, then we go down to the lower species of life. So what do we accomplish? There are enough dogs in Melbourne, we don't have to become another one of them. So unless one takes the process, niramana, moha, jita, sangha, dosha, and gives up this false association, this false ideas of who we think we are, and our false pride as a result of it, then we can't chant Hare Krishna with any kind of feeling. We think, these things will protect me. Deha, patya, kalatradishu, atma sanyeshva satsupi, tesham pramato nidanam, pashanapina pashyati. That my body will protect me if I learn how to make it strong and fit. Apatya, my children will grow up and become, now it's IT, technical engineers, or doctors or lawyers, and they'll get good jobs and they'll support me in my old age. And my wife will give me all protection. She'll cook nice prasadam for me and keep the house clean so I don't get sick. But these things are not protectors, because everyone dies anyhow. It doesn't matter how many protectors you have in the material world. King Ugrasena had so many quadrillion bodyguards, but he's not around anymore either. So what to speak of our poor selves? Pashanapi na pashyati. Although we see that, we can see it. And how do we see that we see it? Because Shukadeva Goswami, Pariksha Maharaj asked the question, Varyan Esha, what is the duty of a person who's about to die? So unless we think about that, what is my duty since I was about to die? Unless we're questioning like that, then we'll have Shrotavyadishu Rajendra Shrinam Shanti Sahasrashaha Apashyatam Atmatattvam Griheshu Grihanam. We'll have millions of questions about millions of things, all centered around simply the same thing. Nidraya Riyate Naktam Bhavavayena Chavavayam Divya Charte Arajan Katumba Bharanenava. Simply the same thing, how we can sleep better. Big problem nowadays, just to go to sleep. In India, when I was there in Pune, attending some seminars, then we walked by every day, some of the devotees and myself, where the people who were sleeping on the street. But they were sleeping quite peacefully. They had no problem going to sleep. They had nothing to worry about. They had nothing to worry about. Literally had nothing to worry about. But people, big billionaires, they have so much to worry about, they can't even go to sleep. I know one billionaire in London who comes to the temple, and he has a big mansion, 40 rooms, but he's always in anxiety that someone's going to come and kidnap him. So every night he has to sleep in a different room. He can't even sleep. He has billions of dollars, but he can't even sleep. What is the good of the billions of dollars? The people have nothing to worry about. They're sleeping peacefully. So, Nidra Riyate Naktam. So at night, they're trying to plan how to sleep. And if they have an opportunity for sex life, they think they've accomplished something. Some momentary enjoyment, they think they're God. They're Romeo or Juliet. Or Tarzan or Jane. Or Mickey Mouse and Minnie Mouse. And and to maintain this situation, they have to work hard. So many hours of work, so many hours of driving in traffic. Katumba Bharanenava. And if they have extra money, they go out and spend it. And if they have no money, they have their credit card. And they go into debt for many lifetimes. Just to decorate themselves in their house. But the whole idea is that they think these will protect me from death. But there is no protection from death. The only protection from death is become Krishna conscious. Otherwise, we're just going to have to continue on birth and death. Now, Krishna knows that, and therefore, if one is a sincere devotee, then Krishna may sometimes, if one is too much anxious for material opulence that won't be utilized in Krishna's service, sometimes he frustrates. Prabhupada gives himself an example that he was trying to become as rich as Birla in his pharmaceutical company, but Krishna kept on taking everything away from him, and he wound up without nothing. And therefore his family didn't take him seriously. They all say, we love you, but actually they love his money. They don't love him. You have no money, we don't love you anymore. Therefore Prabhupada was able to see the actual raw reality of so-called love and family life without Krishna consciousness. And it doesn't stop there that, well, we're going to have to leave this body. There's no love and family life. They can't protect us. They may love us, but they can't protect us. And therefore, tasmat sarvata bharata, Bhagavan Ishvara Hare, Shrotavyas Kirtitavyas Cha, Smartavyak Chehatavaya. That if one actually wants to become free from all anxiety, tasmat sarvata bharata, that one should worship the all-pervading Krishna, Supreme Personality of Godhead. Shrotavyas, hear about him, Kirtavyas, chant about him, Smartavyas Cha, and remember him. That will actually protect one from all dangers, from all fear of having to take birth again in the material world in some species of life. Therefore, one should not be sorry if he loses something, or so much anxious to gain something, or one should be anxious to become free from our attachments and utilize whatever we can in Krishna's service. That should be what our anxiety is. How I'm going to engage my assets, my tad buddhiyas, tad atmanas, tad nishtas, tad parayanaha, gachantnyapana avritim, jnana nidutta kalmasha. One's intelligence, one's mind, one's faith, one's refuge are all fixed in the Supreme, then one becomes fully cleansed of all misgivings through complete knowledge, and thus proceeds straight on the path to self-realization. So that should be our anxiety. How I'm going to use my intelligence, first of all, to engage my mind in Krishna's service, and then to utilize my assets in Krishna's service on that basis. And have faith that Krishna will protect me, Krishna will maintain me, that I don't have to make elaborate arrangements to protect this body, which will never be protected anyhow. Not that we don't try to take care of it while we're still within it, but we don't make so much elaborate arrangements that we've made arrangements for the next 3 million births to take care of this body. Because if we make arrangements for so many births to take care of this body, then we're going to have to take birth so many times to take care of some other body. Therefore, one should live comfortably, intelligently, and make progress in Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, then it's shravam evi kevalam. We're simply entangling ourselves. We may come and utilize Krishna for our material opportunities, to get more material opportunities, and Krishna may give that to us, or He may not give it to us. And if it doesn't give it to us, then we usually go away. But we should understand that Krishna's business here is not to give us material opulence. Give me a wife, give me a house, give me a color TV, Om Jai Jagadish Hare. That's not Krishna's business here. Krishna's business is to give us love of Krishna, Krishna consciousness. And He may make so many arrangements to help us do that. We should be resentful of Krishna, that how can the Supreme Controller of everything take away my material opulence? That's why I've come here. He should reciprocate with my desires rather than His desires. I pretend that I really want to become Krishna conscious, but actually I just want to increase my material opulences and opportunities, and I think that maybe He can help me do it. And as long as He does that, He's my friend, and if He starts interfering with my material advancement, then He becomes my enemy, and I'll go to Lord Shiva, Lord Durga to help me. We may do that, and Lord Shiva and Mother Durga will help us, but they won't help us make spiritual advancement. They'll help us go to the darkest regions of existence eventually. So I'll stop there. Thank you. Any questions or comments? Yasyanugrahami karishe taddanarashanai. Yudhisthira Maharaj was telling that if Krishna is especially merciful, His first installment in devotional service is to take away unnecessary opulence from His devotees so that they can actually become humble and rely upon Him and make spiritual advancement. And when they get material opulence, like Sudama Vipra, when they are fully surrendered to Krishna, and Krishna is convinced that they'll utilize whatever he gives them in his service, then Krishna bestows upon them unlimited opulence, like Srila Prabhupada. He actually became fabulously rich because he was utilizing, Krishna knew he'd utilize everything in Krishna's service, and therefore Prabhupada said, I had a few children, but now I have thousands of children. Unlimited opulence, because everything Prabhupada got, he utilized in Krishna's service. Any questions or comments? Yes.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. When you said that acquiring material opulence increases our false prestige, I just had a doubt that is it justified to acquire material opulence with the motive that I'm going to use that material opulence to serve Krishna and integrate it in my service towards the Lord and His devotees?
Yeah, that's usually one of the myths that everyone comes up with to justify their giving up devotional service. I'm going to go out and make millions of dollars and give it to Krishna. And then they make millions of dollars and you never see him again. Because they've given up the basic principle of chanting Hare Krishna every day, minimum number of rounds, certain number of rounds. They've given up the idea of worshiping the deities, hearing Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, Bhagavad Gita, serving the devotees and making the atmosphere spiritual. They gave it up to make so-called make millions of dollars, or making millions of dollars for so-called service of Krishna. They've given it up so they know nothing about Krishna. They get entangled in bad association, and that's what they make. That's what they get. Instead of devotional service, they get unlimited desires of sense gratification. Because they've given up Krishna. How can you serve Krishna? How can you go out and do something, service of Krishna, when you've already given him up? By neglecting the most basic principles.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for the nice class. Maharaj, you mentioned life without Krishna consciousness would be nothing. We can even become a dog in our next life and listen to the lectures about what happens to non-devotees who are not performing Krishna consciousness. So I'd like to ask, how do we know we're performing devotional service out of love or out of fear of being punished?
Well, I think generally speaking, most of us know the difference between fear and love. If there's love, then there won't be any fear. If there's fear, there won't be any love. So if we're not loving Krishna, because we don't know Krishna that well, but if we're not doing our service happily, just for the sake of trying to please Krishna, then we're doing it thinking, out of fear. What will happen if I don't do it? Krishna is he's a powerful person, he might do some harm to me if I don't please him. So that's our conception of Krishna. If we think Krishna is a beautiful cowherd boy in Vrindavan, and I have an opportunity to please him, if we're thinking of him like that, then what is he going to give us if we go to Vrindavan? Some milk preparation? When we think, he's a powerful Vishnu form and he's controlling the material nature, and if I don't serve him, he'll take away. Just like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he was a young boy and he saw these ladies on the Ganges, these young girls on the Ganges worshiping Mother Durga, and he said, give all your paraphernalia for Durga, all the prasadam and everything you're using to worship Durga to me. And they said, no way. And he said, if you don't do that, then I'm going to curse you. You're all going to become co-wives of old people with 8 other wives. So they all became afraid, and maybe he has some power to him. So they all had fear. They gave him the offerings. So that kind of relation with Krishna is something, at least they gave him the offerings, but it's not the highest level of devotion.
Thank you.
Anything else? Thank you very much. Śrīmad Bhāgavatam ki jai, Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanande.